Coast Business Radio is the home for business from the Gold Coast to Byron Bay and beyond. Whether you're an entrepreneur, small business owner, or just managing your family's assets, the Coast Business Radio podcast can help. Find the resources you need to manage your money, start your latest venture, grow your business, and be able to compete in a global market.
In Australia, more hours are lost in the workplace through mental health problems than for any other reason. We have to change that. Lift the Lid on Mental Illness is an Australian initiative to prevent mental illness through research. And through Lift the Lid's Adopt a Scientist campaign, you'll be able to choose an area of mental illness research that you wish to support. It's a Rotary project. 100% of every donation will be used for research. Go online, Lift the Lid, Australian Rotary Health.
This show is recorded at BMD Northcliffe Surf Lifesaving Club. Today on Coast Business Radio, we catch up with David Shields, President of BMD Northcliffe Surf Lifesaving Club, Martin Pratley, owner of Pratley Guitars, Laura Younger from the Surfers Paradise Alliance and the Gold Coast Central Chamber of Commerce, just to name a few, Jaime Turner, owner of Mavella Superfoods, and Dervla Loughnane, a virtual psychologist. And finally, don't forget to subscribe.
Talking business, nothing but talk.
David Shields is the long-serving president of a great life-saving club, BMD Northcliffe. They have great facilities, provide a great service to the community, and a proud history in surf sports competition, being an undefeated Australian champion club since 2004 and the world champion club since 2008. Surf sports plays a big role in giving members the skills and passion to deliver a life-saving service. It also gives members recognition for their sporting efforts. President David Shields believes changes planned by Surf Lifesaving Australia have the potential to be the death of the sport if nothing is done to reverse it. David, welcome.
Thank you very much.
You're all over the newspapers. You're not happy with this new event, which is the Iron X event. So what is the problem?
Look, I think it can be confusing to the general public, and that's part of the problem. We have been confusing over recent years where we've chopped and changed what we do. Surf sports within Surf Lifesaving has been around for over 100 years, and it was always a platform that was identified and used by our clubs and by our governing bodies to showcase our members' skills and abilities to get in and out of the water very quickly in an effort to rescue people in distress. We were using craft all the way back from the early 1900s that we used to rescue people. Old timber boards, old timber skis, they were used to rescue. Surf boats used to be used to rescue people. We've got a long tradition in surf lifesaving, surf sports. Our members, our young members look up to what our senior people do, our elite people do, and they do it so well. To change the goalposts now, to change the sport is just wrong. Cricket has evolved over the years, but they're still using a bat, a ball and a wicket. We have developed longer and shorter versions of Ironman racing, which includes all four disciplines, the running, the swimming, board and ski, to include monkey bars, rolling tyres on the beach, cargo nets, climbing up 45-degree angle boards with rope, holding your breath for 25 metres underwater, which is dangerous, and putting a dangerous piece of equipment as a SUP, stand-up paddleboards, in surf is just silly and ridiculous.
Well, they should stay in the boardroom, those things, because obviously that's what they were using when they came up with this decision.
You got to wonder. I mean, you got to wonder. We don't, as a club, we don't directly vote for these board members at Surf Lifesaving Queensland or Surf Lifesaving Australia. We have no say who gets these roles. Normally these people will go through the local branch, get a higher position there, and then be voted in to a higher position at Surf Lifesaving in their state. And then these same people can apply for these positions in Surf Lifesaving Australia on the board. They do have some independent people as well. But you always wonder that, sitting around a table, when this comes to you, why more thought wasn't put into it from the start, why more dialogue wasn't provided to the clubs, why more interest wasn't shown to get the clubs involved in the decision-making process, which we weren't. They've already made this decision before they came to the clubs back in February. We've been fighting this since February.
Wow.
fighting it.
Okay, was it the entire board of Surf Lifesaving Australia, or was there someone behind that pushed them to this and said, this is really great? If so, why would they do that?
We've been piecing together that exact train of thought for a little while now. We believe the incoming CEO approached the guy who's organising the INX events now and said, listen, we believe that the professional series is almost on the verge of extinction, which we negate that. We don't believe it is. It could always do with some more resources and more funding, which they've failed to do over the years. And he said, listen, I believe it's pretty in ordinary shape. We need to get back on TV. To do that, we need to look at a different format. We need to include these elements, and the board has gone, this is very exciting. This guy's a good salesman. So he's gone to them and sold them the iceberg, and they've gone, let's go for it. The problem we have now is that they relented. Originally they were going to put these stand-up paddleboards and Ninja Warrior style events, Tough Mudder style events in this year's Ironman series. They were going to do that. After all the backlash, they said, okay, we won't do that now, but we'll do a standalone event as an exhibition event. And we said, no, don't do that. You're only going to waste money, time, resources and effort. Put that time, money, resources and effort into our current series. Yep. Or the Coolangatta Gold, or both. Yep. The Coolangatta Gold, for example, is a 42-kilometre race, 4 to 5 hours. It's also open to the public, mind you, but it's an incredible, iconic surf life-saving event. 42 kilometres. First prize for that is $18,000. This Mickey Mouse event they've got going at Mooloolaba on Australia Day, on a public holiday there, is $25,000. Oh. It's just out of whack. They're pumping all these resources and promoting it. Apart from what they should be doing is promoting our existing traditional surf life-saving events like the Kellogg's Nutri-Grain Ironman series and Ironwoman series, and also the Coolangatta Gold.
Okay, what clubs are also backing your decision or your views?
Look, we're privy to information from a lot of clubs, all the big clubs involved in surf sports. So on the Gold Coast, you've got Kurrawa, you've got our head coach, the head coach at Currumbin's definitely in favour of supporting our cause. We don't know of any clubs involved in INX that are supporting it. We believe pretty much 90%, 95% of members that participate in surf sports are not in favour of increasing and using other elements in surf sports like the SUP and stand-up and the SUP and Ninja Warrior events.
So what happens now?
Well, we just keep going through the media at the moment because they're just not listening to us. They've never listened to us. They don't respond to our emails, don't respond to our letters. We've formed a group of Sydney clubs and Queensland clubs. We called ourselves the Surf Sports Representative Committee. It's not an elected committee, but it was just a group of like-minded hierarchy from a number of clubs in Queensland and New South Wales. We're meeting since April now to formulate not a breakaway series, but an opportunity to provide a surf sports event for the masses. So we're doing one on the same weekend as the Burleigh Heads Nutri-Grain series. On the Friday and the Saturday, we'll do one at Mermaid Beach on the same weekend as the Surfers Paradise series, and we'll also do one at Wanda. So what we're trying to provide is an opportunity for our members to participate.
The thing is, okay, you have the X event happening, and then you got all the other events. Will it fracture the whole association?
It has fractured already.
And is it repairable?
Look, it should
under
be,
the current board.
It should be repairable. Yeah. Under the current board, look, these are the same people that made this decision in the first place. It is fractured. We've got people in our club here, a couple of people are okay to do the INX. So then you've got, they've really created an angst between our own membership, which is not right. Their sole responsibility should be to support and give guidance to our members, support the clubs. We're the ones saving lives. We're the one training our people. We're the one coaching our people. They don't do any of that. Surf Lifesaving Australia. Don't do any of that. They're not out there rescuing people.
Yep. And you're doing the hard yard, the hard yakka.
Yep.
And you speak from experience because you've been the Australian Champion Club
16 years in succession.
Yeah. Wow.
So we are the most dominant club in surf sports, and they continue to fail to listen to us.
But why don't you share it around? I mean, 16 years is a long time. That's very greedy.
Look,
Actually, it's very successful, though, isn't it?
It is a combination of both,
Yes.
and I think
It's mine.
success breeds success, and you
Yes.
just want to keep winning. It will not last forever,
No.
but we really got a passion to continue to stay at the top as long as we can.
You're a champion club, not just in these events. I look around, magnificent club. Supporters Club is stunning. You've got some wonderful sponsors. How important is the local community to, say, your club?
Well, we represent the local community. We're part of the local community. We should always be part of the local community. Surf Lifesaving clubs were set up by local communities who wanted to save each other. Back in the early 1900s, when people started going in the water more often than they would. Clothing regulations, restrictions were relaxed.
Yes.
But people started getting into trouble on large open beaches. So that's why surf lifesaving clubs were developed and established by local communities. We're still very much part of the local community. Yes, we've got a great supporters club, but by doing that, we've been able to stay self-sufficient financially. We've still got considerable debt, mind you, from all our renovations that were done, but we have to keep reinvesting in our business. Our business in our supporters club, its sole purpose is to raise funds in a hospitality venue for all what we do downstairs. And we've been very, very fortunate. We've had good people associated with both the supporters club and the surf club for a long time, stable management in both clubs. In the management committee, these are all volunteer positions. So we've been very fortunate to keep those people on board, and that's why we are successful.
I look at even the sponsors. What do you offer the sponsor? This is for those who aren't a sponsor, and they should be. They all should be. What would you offer a sponsor in return for being a sponsor?
Look, we've got a whole range of different levels for sponsorship. We're the only surf club in the country, if not the world, that has a naming rights sponsor.
I saw that.
Yeah, so BMD, it's quite unique. Mick and Denise Power privately own BMD, which is a large national construction and engineering company. Started off in engineering, civil works, and now in urban development and lots of other things. But Mick was an old standing member here. His brother was a club captain in the 60s. He's got the passion for our club. Puts a lot of time and effort and resources and money into many, many other sports and activities. But he has true passion for what we do. Are we out there getting Mick to build any roads for some of our friends? And that probably not. Mick does all this for the passion he has for our club. A lot of our sponsors are the same. We do what we can and promote our sponsors as much as possible. So sponsorship's very much like advertising. You know, plenty of businesses now advertise all over the place, whether it be radio, TV, on buses. We believe the 13 to 14,000 members we have here are prime fodder for our sponsors, and we get that message out through our sponsors to our members as much as we can.
What about the challenges, though, for doing business for a surf lifesaving club? What are they?
The challenges in relation to
the raising of money and keeping the business going?
It's hard.
So what are the main challenges?
Well, we have the model here at this club is quite an expensive model. We have a lot of staff downstairs in the surf club. We provide a lot of services, not only to the members of the public, but obviously to our members as well, to make it easier for them to provide that voluntary service. That all comes at a cost. Our surf sports program comes at a cost. So it costs us a lot more money to run our surf club in the model we have chosen. So then there's pressure to raise those funds. So whilst our supporters club raises probably 60 to 70% of those funds, we still have to find each year about $650,000 to balance the books. Last year we were lucky to get about 685. This year's budget just over 650 to balance the books. So it is hard. It's tough. We're out there regularly working out ways of asking people to support us financially, working out ways of cutting down the costs that we have. If we've got existing people that we've got a business relationship with, we'll continually try and nut them down to a lower fee, because that's just as good as getting cash. So we're always on that. Look, we support them a lot. We have at least 2 or 3 functions a year for all our sponsors. They all get together. They cross-pollinate. I think we look after sponsors very well, but it is hard. It's a challenge every year. It just doesn't stop, really. I mean, there's no off period. There's no off-season anymore. So we're constantly looking for more people to support us.
As the population grows, the number of tourists increase coming to this beautiful part of the world. your cost must also grow because the population is growing, the services you provide on the beach. If somebody wants to become a surf lifesaver, what do they have to do?
Well, first of all, they have to, usually if they're 15 years of age, get their bronze medallion. And that can be an 8-week part-time course on the weekends, or there is a 1-week intensive course. They've got to be able to swim 800 metres 400 metres in 8 minutes. 400 metres in 8 minutes. They've got to be able to do a run, swim, run. They've got to be able to do a board rescue. They've got to be able to do certain other physical activities, but they've also got to know first aid, resuscitation, and a number of other theory components to a bronze medallion course.
Future of the club?
Future's rosy. We've got great people coming through, great members coming through from the nippers. We've got the thing with junior activities, what we call nippers. You've got all those parents coming through, and we get so many parents each year get their bronze and stay in the club, even when their children may be wane from the sporting side of things, or when they get to school age and the latter years of school age, they may decide that's enough for us. We've got the parents staying on board. We've got a lot of parents on our management committee now. Kids are way gone from surf lifesaving, but they're still involved in an active way.
If somebody wants to contact the club or find out more, how do they do that?
Oh, just over the net. There's plenty of emails on there, or just give us a buzz. 55 398 091. We've got staff here all the time to cater for those inquiries. We welcome everybody.
Okay, now you look like you're a seaweed still, a bit of a surfer. Am I right?
Yes, yeah. I'm in the water as much as I can.
Okay, where's the best break around here?
Oh, well, look, after the sand pumping was done here by the council, we've got plenty of good breaks.
Oh, thanks, Tom.
Plenty of good breaks. But no, seriously, we do thank Tom for that.
Yes.
Even just to the right of the club here, just on the right there. These are open beach breaks. I mean, you can't beat Burleigh and places like that. But even the open beaches now, and there's been some surfers out during the week because there's been some great surf. A lot of pretty much wind affected today, but there is some genuine swell out there. But it's a lot different to what it used to be.
When I was a kid, I used to drive always down to the surf beaches and stuff in Victoria. I never surfed. I used to watch them. It was cool enough for me because the water was freezing.
Freezing cold,
Even now the water isn't that, because we lived in Hawaii, and the water is always warm.
Warm in Hawaii,
Yeah, but here it's still a bit cold, and I'm sensitive.
It's lovely in summer. It's pretty good in winter.
Yeah.
I mean, we're on a winter's day here now,
stunning,
and
isn't
that
it?
water's probably only 20 degrees.
Yeah.
A little bit of a wind chill, but it's still pretty good.
And the right temperature, the water's beautiful. The beer is the right temperature here. David, thank you very much.
It's always cold. No, I appreciate it, Mike. Thanks so much, mate.
Here's what's happening.
On Thursday the 29th of August from 1 till 4 p.m, don't miss Sales Mastery 2019. Learn how to fine-tune your sales process through tested and refined world-class techniques. You can apply these to your business and transform the way you sell. It's on at Sports House in Varsity Lakes, or visit the Facebook site facebook.com/AMG Coaching GC/. The Gold Coast Innovation Hub presents the Friday Hub Club. It's networking drinks from 4 till 6 p.m. this Friday the 30th of August. Connect with a driven Gold Coast business community and you'll meet the Gold Coast Innovation Hub team and find out more about their exciting upcoming events and activities. The Friday Hub Club at 36 Labour Drive, Robina. And to find out more, visit the website gchub.com.au. This has been Darren McCarthy for Coast Business Radio.
Pratley Guitars of Nerang was founded by Martin Pratley in 2004. Martin designs and manufactures musical instruments, including guitars and stomp boxes. He recently bought a factory in Burleigh and has plans to ramp up production after some very tough years. Martin exports his stomp boxes to Canada and makes custom guitars for high-profile musos. And Martin, welcome.
Thank you.
Where's your guitar? Where's your stomp box?
Yeah, I should have brought some.
We can make a
with me,
noise.
sorry.
Hang on. There, it sounds like a stomp box.
That's actually very similar to it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Same material.
Yeah. Solid piece of wood with a good microphone.
But I think, if someone's playing blues, you got to have a stomp box.
Oh, you do. It really adds a lot of depth to the performance, the sound, yeah.
Now, you're a muso and a business person. Question before we get into it, should the two ever combine?
It's a hard mix, definitely.
And you're a mixologist.
Well,
Well,
music is creative, and the actual design and making of guitars is as well. So business doesn't always go well with it.
tell us about your, the startup 2004.
Yeah.
You had the world was wide open.
Yeah, it felt like it.
Billy Hyde was the big name.
They were rocketing into, the first place as the biggest retailer in Australia.
Yeah.
And took
You were
over
excited
everything.
at that stage?
Yeah, it was fantastic.
So what happened?
Well, we'd been I had been developing my guitars and learning the craft over many years, and we'd invented this new type of stomp box that hadn't been around, and at the time it turned out 2 other guys in Australia had done the similar thing at the same time.
Not as good though.
No, I don't think so.
No, they weren't.
They weren't in Billy Hyde. They weren't in the big stores.
Wow.
Yeah. I just took it to Billy Hyde, to the head sales manager or purchasing officer, and we also did a cajun, which is a Latin or Peruvian drum, box drum, and we put it up against the world's biggest drum manufacturers and blew them out of the water.
Wow.
So he said on the spot, "Come to Melbourne and let's do a deal."
Yep. And then that was about it.
That was the start of it, and then I had to figure out what Inc and X meant with GST and all the things on the fly, and tried not to let anyone know that we were building 50 cajuns a month out of a tiny tin shed. And
It's the art of illusion.
yeah, but then we moved into our big factory at back then, and we were doing well and supporting one of the bands we supported at the time before we sort of decreased our size back then was called the Amity Affliction, a very big heavy metal band. They were number 1 on the charts.
Yeah, I saw them at a cabaret, the RSL Club. No, I didn't. I'm just joking.
I don't think so. They scream, but even today, one of our guitars is in their studio on the Sunshine Coast. Yeah, they love it.
And then what happened though?
Billy
had all this thing.
Vodafone, I think some company like Vodafone or something bought Billy Hyde out.
Yep.
And didn't know how to maintain musical instrument sales through a global financial crisis. And so we were about 2 weeks out from delivering our first 50 guitars nationwide, and that's a lot of setup. It's not just the cost of guitars to us, but it was the setup of the machinery, and so you're talking well over 100,000.
And
half a house,
and you're building a house, and
I was building a house and having our second child in 2 years or 2.5 years.
Life was looking good,
and it got pretty hard for a bit there.
Okay, but providing you had some bourbon. I mean, because you're a muser.
So I
bourbon or whiskey, bad whiskey, no good one, no good stuff.
Got the guitar out and sung some blues and sorted myself out.
And now we're here, and you're now starting to.
We've been coming. We only decreased in size. We stayed open for business, and we were selling stomp boxes mostly then. And then the last 3 years has been, or 4 years has been growing back to this point now where we're doing signature models for blues players like Ash Grunwald and supporting the Teskey brothers. We're making guitars for them, and they have just sold 4 shows in Melbourne out in the last week.
And this really helps too, doesn't it?
Because I mean, even for just my passion, to have guys like that and bands like that, like supporting us or wanting to play our guitars is just fantastic.
So what have you learnt from having the world was your oyster?
Yeah.
Have you learnt that, again, musos shouldn't mix business together? Or because, you think from the heart. Sometimes it's hard from the head, but you can't help the GFC. If
you go in, you can't help the GFC. I've got to remember that. That was a hard lesson, is just trying to remember it wasn't my fault or their fault or anything.
No, it just happened.
It's what happened to the world. I had people working on my house at that time that were in their 60s having to drive an excavator because they'd lost all of their superannuation.
Wow.
So it helped me realise I wasn't in the worst shape.
No.
I managed to keep my house by working about 4 jobs at a time.
And it hasn't affected you. You still look so young. In fact, you have a perfect head for radio, face for radio.
Great.
You've heard that before.
And, my first grey hairs only came when my first daughter was born. So
and sleep went away.
Sleep disappeared.
But again, musos don't sleep.
No, well, yeah.
Well, they didn't, but now that we did some stuff in LA.
A different world.
They look after themselves.
Yeah.
They drink juices and
the health.
I mean, how the
Depends
what the
which
hell?
ones. Depends which scene of music you're in, I think.
Well, even rock though. I mean, we had a chat to the chef for Van Halen.
Oh wow!
And he cooked these magnificent healthy meals, and I'm thinking, really? And that was more Van Hager than Van Halen. When Sammy was there, but I'm thinking, nah.
Yeah, well, I've always
where's your whiskey for the morning?
morning whiskey.
or vodka.
Yeah. I've always been amazed at how they'd travel so much and play late into the night.
Yep.
And then not eat properly and drink like crazy.
Yeah.
And still do it again the next night and the next night.
But look at it. Even Steve Perry. We had I'm dropping names here, but as I should. No, but the Steve Perry. I mean, he got sick of the whole thing, and so he just said, and he was with Journey. He was the top in the US. Couldn't get any bigger. Yeah. And it stopped. Yeah. So I mean, maybe musos are changing.
Yeah. No, it looks like it.
Are you changing? Yeah. Are you more mature?
I'm definitely. I've learnt a lot, and it's a thing where you've got to manage passion and business and try and figure out how to make that work. And
so, what have you learned? What have you learned from business?
Well, you've got to. That's a hard question.
Because muso again, to be a musician, you have to be structured to play, but sometimes the rest of the thought surrounding that structured playing of instruments is just not there. It's not.
No.
So you had to, take yourself away from playing the guitar or the stomp box or whatever, and then you have to say, okay, I'm going to do business. Dot the I's, cross the T's. So what have you learnt from say when you were with Billy Hyde? You had the world at your feet.
Yeah.
A lot easier then too, even though hard work, to now. What's the difference? And what advice?
Well, I think, I've tried to do everything myself always. So I do my entire website. I do every graphic art and logos and do all the
saves
marketing.
dollars too.
It saves a lot of money. Photography is not something I haven't wanted to go and learn that because I've got too much to learn already with
information overload,
computerised machinery and everything I use. But I've learned about myself over this long time that I'm very good at the invention, design, prototype, but as for the day-to-day, turning up, making all day long, that's not my forte. So I've learned about how I work and what employees I need to get that work
to do
done
the hours that you don't want to do.
No, because I am constantly refining what we do. Yep. So I'm making better setups to make the neck of the guitar better all the time. So that doesn't allow me to turn up at 7 and just make guitars all day long. I'm too busy with business stuff and refining designs and working on the company sort of thing. So I know now the type of people I need. And I'm hiring them right now. I've got 2-3 new guys on at the moment. What
makes a guitar good and what makes a guitar great? Because you make them. You're from the very...
Yeah, well, that's right. And there's a lot of misconceptions with the actual players of guitars. They come to me and they say, this and that, because they've been fed the marketing for so long from America.
Yep.
What makes a good guitar and then a very, very great guitar is all the little tiny fine details all the way through the making. So there's a quality of material for each component. There's the way the timber's cut for each component can change it all. So you work on making each part great and putting it together really great, and then you end up with those top great guitars at the end.
What about your stomp box?
Stomp box, yeah, well...
Is that just like a bit of wood?
No, we use some of the best timber
Table?
you can get. We use a lot of what's called, in Australia we call it New Guinea rosewood, but overseas it's known as Amboyna, one of the most expensive timbers you can buy, really. It's extremely beautiful and resonant, and we've created our own special... I guess it's like a microphone that picks up vibration in the wood. and uses a magnet and a coil of wire like a microphone does.
So it's not just a bit of wood?
No. And to have it as a passive unit with no battery, we've worked for many, many years to get just that right sound and that right tone.
So where to now for Pratley Guitars?
Yeah, well,
the universe?
Yeah, we've got a sales rep from Byron to Cairns, and we're putting on one for all of New South Wales and Victoria, and hopefully we'll have acoustic and electric guitars out in stores all across the nation over the coming 6 months.
Fantastic. Now, if somebody wants to find out more about guitars, how do they do that?
Probably the best place is pratleyguitars.com.au, our website, and just Instagram and Facebook, Pratley Guitars. We're constantly putting up stuff on Instagram and Facebook, and we always chat to whoever's interested on those social media networks, and it's good fun. Okay,
before we go, just a sidebar, I was thinking, because you make guitars, so when you watch people, and you're a musician, play the guitar, you'd probably take an extra interest in...
Oh, for sure.
Okay, top guitarist in the world today that you've seen?
Ooh.
Come on, there's one for you. Well, a really good guitarist is really good, but there are some that stand out. Now, some have had, looking at, say, Carlos Santana, great guitarist, but he's had all the publicity around it. So there are some of the unsung heroes.
Well, in Australia right now, one to watch... See, it's all about style, because the Teskey brothers, Sam Teskey, the guitarist from them, has just got amazing style, the way he plays. I love it. But whether he's as technically good as a guy from Melbourne called I Built the Sky, who's a more progressive, heavy playing guitarist, it's very hard. It's very subjective, I guess.
And with those learning guitar, I'm thinking about when I grew up, and everybody they play. I think you can tell me the others that I'm wrong. Smoke on the Water.
Oh yeah.
Everybody, and the other one is Stairway to Heaven, and that's what everybody. My brother, he would like to be a great guitarist. And he sits home, and all I hear is that one. Or Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah,
and scary.
I
very
saw
scary.
a YouTube clip of a guy playing Stairway to Heaven in different stalls around America.
Oh, wow.
And they'd tell him to stop straight away. Like, he had it was like a funny clip where he'd be like, there'd be signs up, no Stairway to Heaven. No, or at the big guitar exhibition.
Well,
he'd turn up at the booth at the display and try and play it, and they'd stop him.
We've seen that 10 million times.
It was a good comedy routine they did,
Fantastic. All right, thank you very much, Martin.
Thank you.
Catch you next time.
Appreciate it.
And good luck with the guitars.
Thank you.
You're listening to Coast Business Radio with Mike Ryan.
Launched in 2017, the Virtual Psychologist is a text messaging service linking counsellors and psychologists to clients suffering from mental health issues. In 2017, it won a $72,000 grant from Optus after Dervla Loughnane pitched the idea through the telco's Future Makers program. The business now has grown to 9 staff based at the Gold Coast hub in Robina and has expanded to New Zealand. Dervla, welcome.
Welcome, Mike.
Tell us about the business and how it started.
So the business started rather on a sad note. A few years ago, I got called into a school where a young man had taken his own life. Next to him was his mobile phone. And with the help of the police, we looked at his phone records, and he had made no attempt to reach out for help. And I wondered at that stage what was so confronting for this young man that he couldn't have picked up the phone and asked for help. And it was at that point in time I was wondering, could a simple text message have saved his life? And it was from there I went back into work that afternoon, quit my job, and decided that I was going to see, could text messaging save lives?
Do you think, though, as a state of confusion in the mind at that particular point of a person's life, that they would have the capacity to text?
I think so. Certainly in our experience, and we've been going for 3 years now, that the answer to that question is definitely yes, and that some people find it simpler to just send a very simple one-word help text than they would to actually find a number, dial a number, and explain what's going on.
Why wouldn't they contact someone by phone, or is this an Australian thing, do you think?
So, Mike, mental health is still very stigmatised in this country, and certainly for males it's very difficult to reach out for help. So we've asked a number of people that have contacted our service, why are you texting and not picking up the phone? And a lot of people are saying it's too confronting, it's too embarrassing. Other people are just saying it's not convenient.
Your service, I mean, it's the business itself has really grown. Tell us about the curve, because it's been a very steep curve. It's been a fantastic, for a business, growing curve.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, though, it just shows that we have this real problem out there, which isn't fantastic. So one, does that conflict with you too? Is there a conflict that your success, although you're offering this service, on the downside we have that sadness?
Yeah. So, look, there is that kind of conflict going on, but I certainly think it's filling a gap or a need that people at the moment are really struggling to reach out for mental health services. So we started off literally with a mobile phone. I grabbed a mobile phone and said, to people, just text message me. From there, things grew very, very quickly and happened very fast. We got the support of Optus. I won a Future Makers Award from Optus. Was able to build a global IT platform. So, no longer did we do little mobile phones. We had a proper IT platform. We formed partnerships with a lot of corporate organizations very quickly. We now cover 180,000 employees in the corporate sector. And then we won, over $1 million in federal funding to provide services to those people in the rural and remote areas. And, unfortunately, people in rural and remote areas don't have access to mental health services. So this was a very cost-effective way to bring out mental health services to a lot of people, where really suicide is 2.5 times higher in rural and remote areas than metropolitan areas. So it allowed those sorts of people that don't normally access any help to have an avenue that was less confronting.
In the workplace, and rural too, but in the workplace, have you seen an increase in those calling for help?
So our figures show that we've had a 40% increase in those people that have called for help. And when we've explored what is this 40% increase, because I've been working as a psychologist now for 20 years, so I was curious, what is that 40% increase all about? And what it is was people had a different form of engaging, a different opportunity to engage. So rather than pick up the phone or do face-to-face, that 40% increase came from the fact that people were able to text message in. And these are people that normally wouldn't have ever asked for help. People in open plan offices who can't talk. People that didn't want to be heard crying. All those sorts of things. So just different opportunities for people.
How has business embraced change?
So businesses have been absolutely fantastic. They realise that the return on investment in investing in mental health for their staff is really significant. So you get about a 7-to-1 ratio of a return on investment. For every $1 they invest, they get about $7 return. And this isn't things like presenteeism, absenteeism, staff turnover. So we're able to be a little bit more proactive on mental health. It pays dividends in the workplace, and that's why a lot of organisations have come on board and realised the benefits of this.
What are some of the symptoms that an employer can see that one of the employees is having trouble coping?
So sometimes it's behavioural. You might get the worker that's exceptionally angry, exceptionally agitated, snappy, or procrastinating, not getting any work done, taking a lot of time to do things, missing deadlines, coming to work late, sort of behavioural issues. Then there's the less obvious things. Being able to have that conversation with your employee about, you find that they're not sleeping well, there's, changes in appetite, there's low mood, you notice that their concentration and focus is all over the place, they might not have the same energy that they've had before, they may have lost interest in things that they used to. So there's a lot of telltale signs that people probably aren't aware of.
Has the modern, say, technology created extra pressure? Because technology, whereas before you could, you write something down and you put it aside and somebody would get to it and yada, 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 yada. It takes time as the brain has time to accumulate. Nowadays, it's instant. So instant results, I want to know now, bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
Has that been a major contributor?
Absolutely. So technology has brought a lot of benefits, but as you quite rightly point out, there's been a lot of negatives with technology. And one of the biggest things that I see in organisations is this constant connection.
How can we then switch off?
So in this day and age, it is difficult because there's that expectation that we will always be engaged, that we're always there. But it is literally about setting boundaries. It's about going, when my work is finished, we disconnect from our devices. Unless you are on call, there's no need to have the phone next to your bed as you go to sleep. It's about distancing yourself from your mobile phone and focusing in on quality time and that sort of thing.
And employers should understand that the temptation, especially as smaller to medium-sized businesses, is to keep connecting with your employees at a whim, and that has to be also taught that they can't do that.
Absolutely. And I think you're quite right. Certainly the SMEs, that's a really big issue, that there's such an expectation to get, every cent from your employee. But there needs to be those boundaries, and they need to realise that it's about quality, not quantity.
Okay, I mean, we talked about the employees, but what about the employers? I mean, surely they would also be under the pressure.
No one is exempt from it. Everyone in these days is under pressure to perform, to get really good results. So the employers certainly are under the same pressure. And unfortunately, for some of the leaders of today, there is no support for them. There's the expectation that they will keep performing.
Well, the burnout, and there's a company, which I won't mention the name, they were running shopping centres of all things, and they had a number all over Australia, and they would burn them out. After they'd buy their brand new BMW, they were encouraged to buy a BMW, to live the high life, to put in the hours. And I said to a guy once, I said, but surely you could only have so many managers, with these shopping centres that have these beautiful cars and big salaries and all this pressure. He said they burn out. They last for about 2 years, then they just disappear and the new ones come in. The new car and the money and the travel and stuff was always encouraging. And this company is still around now. In your experience, is that a major contributor for a disaster? And does it still happen, on the Gold Coast?
So it definitely happens on the Gold Coast. You see it amongst those professions that probably have strong deliverables or working on a commission basis. So certainly, your real estate agents, whatever, that are still living the high life, but are certainly under a lot of pressure. So yes, it definitely is out there. Okay,
from the workplace sector on the Gold Coast to the rural sector. Same sort of problems, because if you're a farmer on the land, again, it's a business, and the difference is, though, it's 24/7. If you're on the land, it's 24/7. What advice would you give to those that are having trouble at the moment? Because the pressures, they're there.
You're quite right, and by far the greatest concern that I have are for those people in the rural and remote communities, because it is relentless. It's 24/7 and there's no controllables for them. They can't control the rain or the environment. One of the things that I say to them is find out what your why is. What is your meaning? What keeps you going each day? And for a lot of people, not always, but for a lot of people, it is about your family, and really encouraging people to stay connected with your family. They're the people that will support you through thick and thin. And at the end of the day, if that's what's important to you, if you can keep focused on that, that will direct your decisions for the future. Because often I've worked with farmers that have left the land because they've realised their family is more important. So know what your why is and know what's important.
Okay, for those that are issues, how do they utilise your service?
So anyone in the rural and remote areas are allowed to access us 24/7. All our details are on the website. So if you go to virtualpsychologist.com.au, you can contact us via text message, via WhatsApp, via Facebook Messenger. All our details are there.
And then what happens then? If they send out a text, an SOS to you?
So basically they get connected directly with a trained psychologist within 5 minutes. So you don't go through a call centre or anything like that. You get directly put through to a psychologist, and they'll work with you. So they'll work with you, find out what's troubling you, provide you some support, and if need be, we'll hold that support over a number of weeks, if not longer. And you can have the same psychologist if you want, and we'll support you for whatever it is that you're facing.
You're almost like Joan of Arc, and the business that got all these Joan of Arcs working there, helping, doing some really nice things, but with a modern tech feel to it. Is it done elsewhere, overseas?
This concept was actually started in America. The difference in America, they use volunteers. And I felt that if I was going to launch something, we needed qualified people. Certainly when it comes to, complex things, suicide, that sort of thing, we needed the best people. So we definitely do it here in Australia using qualified people. America uses volunteers. Our services have now spread. We also cover New Zealand. And with a couple of corporate companies, we cover people from South Africa, Madagascar and Papua New Guinea.
Wow. So what are they, the same issues, just wrapped differently?
So everyone asks me that, how hard is it to look at issues, that come from different cultures? Well, I have to be honest, Mike, depression is depression. Anxiety is anxiety. The issues end up being the same. How we arrive at that point might be culturally different, but depression is still the same and anxiety is still the same worldwide.
What made you get into this, become a psychologist? Now, before we go, what's the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist?
So a psychiatrist is actually a medical doctor, so they've gone through medical training and they're able to prescribe medication. And probably that's the biggest difference, is they can prescribe medication. The psychologist, our training is fairly similar. I've done 7 years. A psychiatrist certainly also does 7 to 9 years. The psychologists are not allowed to prescribe medication, although we are trained in the medications. We do talk therapies. So we actually work with people and provide strategies that they can use outside of medication or that work in conjunction with medication.
The future of your business, if you grow, means that, one, we're recognising the severity of this problem, but two, it's a bit scary because we're starting to realise that the problem is bigger than we thought.
I think we've always known the problem is big. I don't think we realise just how big it is. And one of the things that I'm probably really quite surprised myself is how many people up until this point haven't reached out for help. And that's what worried me, is how many people are we letting fall through the cracks who just to this point were too scared to ever ask for help. So that's my biggest worry. And I think here in Australia, the other thing that's really surprised me is the amount of isolation and loneliness that there is among some of the older community. And I'm not just talking about in rural and remote communities, which it is absolutely a major problem. But here in the cities, there's a lot of elderly people that are very lonely.
If somebody wants to find out more about your company and what you do, how do they do that?
Please just go to our website. All our details are there. They can go to virtualpsychologist.com.au. We've got all our details about our company and what we're up to, some of our research, and any contact details.
Absolutely fascinating. Thank you very much for your time and a lot of food for thought.
Great. Thanks, Mike.
Here's what's happening.
The third annual Logan and Surround Small Business Expo is on this Friday, the 30th of August, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And to find out more, visit the website smallbusinessexpos.com.au. This Friday, August the 30th, from 7 to 8:30 a.m, a BNI Business Networking Breakfast is on at the Tweed Heads Bowls Club. For more information, visit the website bnigoldcoast.com.au. And that's the latest. I'm Darren McCarthy for Coast Business Radio.
Laura Younger is Deputy President of the Gold Coast Central Chamber of Commerce. Laura is also General Manager at the Australian Timeshare and Holiday Ownership Council, Chair of the Surfers Paradise Alliance and Director of the Queensland Tourism Industry Council. Laura, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I'm very pleased to be with you today.
Okay, what's the current business sentiment on the Gold Coast?
Look, I think it's quite mixed, to be honest. Some businesses are travelling along quite nicely, and other sectors are really finding it finding it quite a trying time. Unfortunately, at times it does depend what sector you're in as to, how things are performing.
Now, the public holiday on Christmas Eve, what's your views on that?
Certainly, it will create problems for a number of businesses, particularly small business. A lot of them will result in their not opening that night, which kind of defeats the purpose in a way, because people who would have worked won't be getting any income. But once you have to start paying those higher rates, it's just not feasible, particularly for a lot of restaurants and, sort of smaller, and not just small business, for large business, for big hotels and what have you. The difference that it makes to the rates that is substantial. And, they definitely feel that this is not the time to be putting something like that in place at all.
The Gold Coast Central Chamber of Commerce, tell us about that.
It's the largest chamber on the Gold Coast, and how it operates is that there's a vice president for each of those main areas, which did generally fit under the divisional boundaries, but of course now that they've changed those boundaries. I guess the location and the map of the chamber won't change. The divisions are changing around it.
Okay, let me ask you a question. If somebody's just rolling up to the Gold Coast for a weekend, what would be your suggestion, in brief, what they should do?
Well, I guess it depends on the person. If it's someone who likes shopping, then obviously there's huge options. But I would certainly start them, if we're saying it's winter and they're not swimming, I would start them off at a surf club or one of the more beachfront sort of cafes to just, watch those beautiful mornings, but most importantly to people watch and see the lifestyle of being on the coast. And so thousands of people that are out walking every morning.
Yes.
I would most likely suggest that they pop up to Mount Tambourine or Springboks, because we do have such a lovely place out there that is well worth visiting. I would suggest that they visit the theme parks. And depending on what, if they've only got a weekend, and depending on what it is that they want to see, whether it might be, just SeaWorld, because they have to see the dolphin shows. It's hard to do a weekend because there's just so much to do. And there's so many great restaurants. Our entire restaurant landscape has changed dramatically over the last even 5 years. But to be able to just say, you've got to go to just one restaurant, I think would be impossible.
I love the Bunnings sausage sizzle and a beer at a surf club. Now, isn't that real Aussie?
And look, to be honest with you, I probably enjoy that pretty much as well. I find it so difficult going into those and not buying
They smell so yummy. Who needs a pout or just a couple of sausages and white bread with mustard and sauce? It's a great start for a weekend.
It's hard to beat, and to be honest, it's about the only way I get my hubby out running. So, right, Pete, I've got the barbecue on, let's go and have a sausage sizzle, and that's the only way I win.
I can relate to that. Laura, thank you very much, and we'll do this often, I hope.
Okay, thanks.
You're listening to the Coast Business Radio podcast.
Mavella Superfoods was launched in 2016 by Jaime Turner and Cheryl Stewart. Their vegetable and fruit powders use Australian superfoods, are healthy and free of artificial colours, flavours, sweeteners, preservatives, dairy and soy. Their products are sold on major e-commerce retail platform JD.com, are in supermarkets in Singapore and in Coles in all 6 states, including 65 outlets in Queensland and 38 in New South Wales. Jaime, great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, tell us, how did you start?
So initially we started about 5 years ago, and we started with a drink called Koala Karma, which is a relaxation drink, and it's designed to sort of take the edge off you. And since then we've been in the Woolies metros, and then in 2 years ago we developed a new product called Mavella Superfoods, and it's a functional powder range for kids.
It's amazing. I mean, I was just looking at the bottles you bought here. caffeine-free, which is really important. Now, I'm a very bad person because I drink a lot of caffeine. I used to drink 40 cups a day of coffee once. The eyes like Marty Feldman. I used to, and then, because I did early morning radio, and then I'd go for a run after it, and I used to run really fast, and I'm sure it was the caffeine.
It would have been, I'm sure of it.
Okay, how bad is caffeine?
Well, the problem is with caffeine is you hit a high and then straight after you actually hit a low, and so that's the reason why people keep having more caffeine all the time. Yes.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I was always happy.
That's true.
Maybe it's like I was too happy. Woo-hoo, take him away, take him away. Okay, you have a business partner?
Yes, I do.
You collaborate on new ideas?
We do. So my business partner, she's absolutely amazing, and her name is Cheryl, and she's got a background in food. And so she's the scientist behind all the formulations. Yeah, she's amazing.
How do you know it does work, and how do you decide this is what we're going to go for?
So firstly, with our kids range, we actually surveyed the market in terms of what do mums actually need to help their kids. And so we have a couple of products in the range, and they've each got a purpose for it. And then we've decided what the purpose of the product is, and then we formulate the ingredients according to the purpose of the product.
When you started, had you ever imagined from the very start to now, you have made some huge advances with your company?
Yeah. It was always a plan, and we wanted our product to be global, and that was always our goal from the beginning.
Why global?
Because what it does is it minimises your risk in business, and so the challenge in Australia is a lot of people are not willing to take on new products as well, so it's actually quite a tough market.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought we would have been a little more progressive.
Progressive, I wouldn't say progressive at all. So, for example, with our relaxation drink, we're in the drink space.
Yes.
And so that's predominated by the big players like Coca-Cola, and so it's very hard to actually get a new product and a new category actually into drink space.
The direction you took, why that direction, and what evidence do you have behind you to support your decisions to go forward?
We actually thought when we did all of our products, there's actually a real need for our products, and so that's the reason why we chose the products that we did, and that there was no products in place that could actually help people. And so all of our products come from a point of actually trying to help people. So
to create the awareness of the product, because that's what marketing does, how did you do that? I mean, that costs money.
It does. It does. So I think with marketing, you've got to also be very innovative in your approach. And so with our Mavella Superfoods, we get a lot of mums talking about our product and sharing their success and sharing their product and things like that. So we actually have a lot of loyalty with our brand.
And social media, an important part?
Social media is the way in which to move forward these days.
Okay, overseas, food regulations and stuff are different.
Yes.
How did you, and then to export?
Yes.
You know, a whole new kettle of fish.
New kettle of fish.
So how did you navigate through that?
So we work with Austrade, and we also work with Trade Investment Queensland, and they actually do a lot of trade shows, and they actually do a lot of inbound trade missions and export trade missions as well. And so a lot of the time they are helping you to connect with the right buyer. And so once you have you need to make sure you've got the right buyer in place, and like what you were saying before, is all the food legislation is actually different per country, and so a lot of the time you have to reformulate to make sure that you adhere to their local food standards.
And even marketing is different too, because you can say one thing in one country and another thing in another country.
Well, what happens is on your products, so in China we couldn't call our product Brain Boost. They said that's a claim, so we had to change you have to change the packaging before you actually go into the country.
So we're in China.
So we have a distributor in China, and they sell a lot in online platforms over there because it's a very different market to sort of here. So they sell a lot through WeChat programs and all online programs.
So doing business in China, the learning curve on that?
With Chinese people, they say yes, even though it might mean no.
It sounds like my wife.
So, yeah, it's a real challenge.
How did you navigate through that?
You have a lot of the same discussions, and when you give them the same answer, they're starting to learn from you of how you do business. Because in Australia, we're very upfront.
Yes.
Whereas in China, they're not upfront at all, and they want to save face. And so their thing of saving face is yes, but it could mean no.
You're in China,
Yeah.
New Zealand.
Yes.
Where else?
We are in Singapore, and we're also in Malaysia.
What about the
And
other
the Middle East.
Middle East? Okay.
Yeah.
Difference between China and the Middle East.
Okay, so we have a Australian exporter, and so it's quite an easy process for us.
So they would source the market for you?
Yes, but also we've got, at the moment, we're going through with our drink. We're doing the process for Saudi Arabia, which is so we have to get the food standards right, and we couldn't put relaxation drink on the bottle.
But you can have increasing the brain stuff thing?
No, not either.
Oh, wow.
And so we've had to change the name to this to Australian Native Calming Drink.
Oh.
So it's a minefield. Every market is different. And it's got to have Arabic writing on it as well.
What's your major thrust? Is it domestic or international?
It's probably 50-50. I would love our product to be everywhere within Australia, because that's our home, and that's why we created it, to help people. But also, in overseas markets, sometimes it can be a little bit easier if you get the right partner from the beginning. There are a lot of time wasters to get to that right person.
Cost-wise, huge?
It can be. So, for example, in China, you have to be first to register. It doesn't matter if you've got proof of using your brand elsewhere. So they have a lot of squatters. So then you have to employ a lawyer to actually...
Ka-ching.
Yeah.
Okay, from the start to now, same passion or increase in passion, or is there a touch of frustration?
A little bit of everything, I think.
Right.
Some days you are so motivated and you're like, yes, I'm having a win. And then other days you're like, oh my gosh, this is going wrong. And
Well, you got the beach.
Yeah, that's
So you just hit the
that's
water
true.
and a
That's
bit of a surf, a couple of coldies after it
That's
maybe.
true. I have a relaxation drink.
Oh, you do. But I mean, although the Scottish make a lovely relaxation drink too, but it's fairly potent to say the least. Okay, advice for those wanting to start a business. One, to get into the domestic market.
Yes.
And a lot of businesses just want that. And then the international market. What's your advice?
So my first advice is really get a product that people actually need, and you can actually have a point of difference against some of the bigger competitors out there. Because you can't compete in terms of marketing budget with some of the big players. In terms of, I think, domestically, start off getting your audience and growing your business online, and I think that's once you get traction online, then you can actually move further afield into stockists and that sort of thing.
And what about homework, research?
Oh, definitely research. I think the thing is have a distinct brand name as well, so that people actually recognise your brand name, that it is something different, but also that it means something to you and your product.
Government organisations that help you export.
Yeah.
How important?
Austrade here on the Gold Coast.
Yes.
The representative, he is amazing here. And Gold Coast City Council very much support their Austrade representative.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's really great. And they'll bring people out here to talk. They've got a guy coming from India talking about Amazon, and the other organisation is Trade Investment Queensland.
And how important is that?
They're very good.
What's the difference between Austrade and them?
Gold Coast City Council and Austrade work very closely together, and some countries have an Austrade representative and some countries have a Trade Investment Queensland representative, so they do similar jobs, but sometimes they don't have representatives in the country.
What about
so the other person does.
So what about the future?
Yes. So we would love to be able to help mums, and we would love to to grow our range. So we're in 192 Coles. So we'd love to be in all of the 800 Coles there are.
Yep.
Also, we'd like to grow our business internationally as well. So and further afield.
If somebody wants to find out more about your company
Yes.
and the goods and products,
Well, we have a website, Mavella, Mavella.com.au, and then we've got Koala Karma, which is Koala and then Karma with a K, K-A-R-M-A,
Yep.
.com.au.
and supermarkets too.
Yes, we're in the Woolies Metro for our relaxation drink. Here on the Gold Coast, we're also in KDV Sport as well, and then with Mavella Superfoods, we're in most of the Coles on the Gold Coast.
Jaime Turner, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
We're talking business, nothing but talk.
This is the Coast Business Radio Podcast.